Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Wednesday, the third day of September 2025. We apologize coming to you so late. About 3 hours ago, we were ready to do our second edition of Breaking News, but my voice just was gone. I tried to do it a number of times, it wouldn't work. Like I've always said, as long as I got my marbles and my voice, we'll do these programs. But I had a bit of a relapse. I've had some throat problems and some issues with the getting over the Chinese Communist Party coronavirus. I'm pretty well, but I get time to time, my voice goes, I start coughing. And that's what happened when I was recording that second edition about 3 hours ago. So anyway, I went to sleep and I planned on only doing one today. But then we got this story came over the wire from the Jerusalem Post. Hamas reiterates readiness for a full deal. Israel Katz decries statement as empty words. And people are asking, oh, they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. So I thought we'd have to deal with that. The other two stories we're going to do are two of the other ones that the IDF had actually announced the second phase had begun of Operation Gideon's Chariots as Israel Hayom. Today was the day they started it. And the Hamas, of course, is preventing evacuation from Gaza City. This is what they always do with threats and attacks on civilians. They're actually killing people that are trying to leave. And so that's part of the problem Israel is facing. And so we were going to do those stories in some detail, but the one that's really important is this one that just came over the wire a little while ago. I want to deal with it real quickly. Hamas reiterates readiness for a full deal. Katz decries statement as empty words. This is from the Jerusalem Post. Defense Minister Israel Katz denounced the terror group's claims as empty words, adding that it must choose between accepting Israel's terms or increased IDF activity in the Gaza Strip. Defense Minister Katz and Prime Minister Netanyahu on Wednesday denounced Hamas's reiteration of its claims of readiness for a comprehensive deal involving the release of hostages in exchange for agreed upon number of Palestinian prisoners. The Prime Minister's office said in response that Hamas's statement was another attempt to spin the situation and reasserted that the war wouldn't end without the release of all hostages, the disarmament of the terror group, the establishment of a civilian-led government in the Palestinian enclave, and Israel's security control in Gaza. Hamas continues to deceive and issue empty words, and it will soon understand that it must choose between two options, Israel Katz said, and he again is the defense minister. Accepting Israel's conditions to end the war, first and foremost, the release of all hostages and disarmament, or Gaza City will become like Rafah and Beit Hanun. The IDF is fully prepared, he added. This follows the terror group reiterating its claims that it's ready for a comprehensive Gaza deal through which the all Israeli hostages are released in exchange for the release of an agreed upon number of Palestinian prisoners. The terror group announced this tonight, Wednesday evening. The group's remark came shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump called on Hamas to release all 20 living hostages. Now, this is normal. We're going to get next. Opposition leader Yair Lapid. He's a screaming leftist. He said the Israeli government does not have to accept Hamas's conditions, but it does have to return to negotiations immediately to try to close a deal. It is impossible not to even try to bring our hostages home. Well, Mr. Lapid, they've tried it over and over again. It doesn't work. Now, informed sources told the Post that behind the scenes, the U.S. is making efforts to try and resume the hostage talks deal. Jerusalem Post is a leftist website. The newspaper is a leftist. And so anything they can ever say against Netanyahu, they'll say it. Informed sources. Who are the informed sources that say it? They never give the list who they are. Like the U.S. is supposedly pressuring Israel to knuckle under right now to Hamas. The source added Hamas's statement tonight can be seen as a response to Prime Minister Netanyahu demand for a comprehensive deal, indicating the opening positions of both sides. Well, that's not the opening position of Israel. The opening and closing position is the same that Netanyahu said. Release all the hostages now, throw down your arms, give up, and let us take over the Gaza Strip. It's that simple. That's our position. That's your only option, or else war. And so Palestinian American Bishara Baba, who was involved in the hostage deal negotiations, said in an interview with Saudi Arabia's Al Arabiya channel, I reached out to Hamas with a proposal for the release of all hostages and shared it with them prior to Donald Trump's most recent tweet. Hamas questioned the proposal's credibility. Israelis believe that Netanyahu will not agree to any deal without significant U.S. pressure. No, Israelis won't agree to any deal unless it's exactly what they want to see take place. And what we just said, Hamas must lay down all its arms. All of the hostages must be released immediately. The leadership will be turned over to Israel, and they'll establish some sort of government there in Gaza, and Hamas will have to leave once and for all, totally without arms. That's Israel's position. So anyway, that's where we're at tonight, but that did come across the wire, and so I thought we'd do it. And I'm sorry I didn't get to you earlier, but sometimes the voice just doesn't cooperate. All right, we'll get, God willing, I'll be better, much better in the morning, get some good sleep, and we'll continue on with this. I'm sure we'll have a lot more information about this. Until then, as always, I'm Don Stewart. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Lord richly, richly bless.